All right, we are rolling. Welcome to another Dave's Log video. Obviously, Dave here talking. I'm at my house here in my driveway. So real quick, want to let you guys know the purpose of this video is a real quick, basic intro to getting a fishing kayak and getting set up with all that stuff. I've been fishing my whole life, but just 3 years ago I got into actual kayak fishing. It's always been, boats and all that other stuff. So this was fairly new to me. I had bought that tan kayak there for duck hunting originally, but I bought the fishing model, and then 3 years ago I decided to try fishing, and everything went terribly right, which was awesome. So I really got into it, but didn't really have anyone to teach me much about fishing out of a kayak. I just had to get out there, splash around, and do some Dave stuff and figure it out, and then watched a bunch of YouTube videos. Obviously there's a ton of videos out there, but the one thing I didn't have was anyone really helping me. So hopefully this helps someone. If not, great. It's just more practice for me filming. Also, quick disclaimer, I just started filming and doing GoPros and all that about 6 months ago. So I'm brand new to all that, so everything's a learning curve. So I apologize if the video's shaky or any other weird shenanigans that go on, but anyway, yeah, let's just get into it. So like I said, this one is my first kayak, and please excuse me, it's very dirty, and obviously you can see the rattle can spray paint job for duck hunting, covered in mud and everything. I have since upgraded, so I use this one as a spare, or when friends and family want to go, or anything like that. So anyway, to kick it off, what I did was I started with this one. The brand is Lifetime. It's a plastic kayak, nothing too fancy, but it's pretty basic, and that's what I liked. That's what really worked for me. You can get them at Walmart. I got this one on Amazon. I think it was honestly like $350, and that's with shipping. So didn't break the bank, but it also doesn't fall apart. They're actually pretty durable. This one's taken a lot of abuse, obviously. Like I said, a duck hunt out of it and fishing and everything, and it has been pretty awesome. So there's two types of kayaks. Basically, there's sit on top, and then there's the ones that you sit inside. So this one obviously is a sit on top, and that's kind of what I like for fishing and everything. Also, it has a kind of a keel or rudder on the bottom, as you can see right there. So the other ones, kind of like the sit-in ones that are for like whitewater, that you have a skirt and all that kind of stuff, so you don't get water inside. Those are flat bottom. This one's not, so those don't steer very well. So for fishing, I would absolutely recommend a sit on top that has some kind of keel there to keep you fishing straight. Same with the front. See, it's got the angle there on the bow, so that helps you track and stay straight. Otherwise you spin a lot in circles. So yeah, Lifetime kayak. Get them at Walmart. You see them outside all the time. That green one over there, that's my kids, and that one was like $150, $200, so pretty good deal. But anyway, we'll start getting after it. So this is the seat, obviously. This is how it comes. So it just comes with this. It does not come with all these rail attachments that I added on in these. It just came with this little seat, and that was already bolted in. That's a pole holder that comes with it, and I'll get to that later. The most important thing I think about what I learned about kayaking, or fishing and kayaking, is the seat. Like, I sat in this for a little bit, and man, that was great for about an hour, but about an hour and a half, 2 hours in, my butt and back and everything got sore, and that really sucked. So what I did was I went on Amazon and got just your basic office chair seat cushion. This one says it's waterproof, but the outside, the case deal is not, but I think the inside is, so it still gets wet. But so you got the grippy side there, so I always put that down. That's an absolute must. I would absolutely recommend getting those. I think they're only like $20. Just type it in on Amazon, good to go. So when you're sitting in there, obviously your feet go this way, so that's what these little step ups are, depending on how tall you are, or if you want to have your knees fairly up or down, you just put your feet here or here, kind of whichever. So that's what those are for. They do make this same type of kayak. This is a Tamarack, a 10-foot, and they make another, Lifetime makes another one like the Tamarack, but it has an actual seat that comes with it, and it has a gear track here for your feet that's adjustable, so you don't have these. If I had to do it all over again, that's the one I would buy for sure, but this one has been pretty good. And of course, my wife's cat Clover is here to help. Hi, Clover. So this one has 2 hatches, and they both go into the hull, and they're just bungeed on like that, so you can see inside the hull there, it goes all the way up. And of course, with just like everything else, you can buy, you know, tons of attachments. So one attachment I did for this front one is I added this bucket, just clips in. See, I got an old drop shot in there that I haven't used in a while, but so that way you can have some gear and everything right here. Otherwise, if you take it out, it just goes inside the hull. So that's kind of the seat and the hatches. Also, to adjust the seat, you just obviously pull the straps here. I found the straighter up you are, the more comfortable you are throughout the day, but everyone's different. So anyway, moving on to these rail attachments. So what I found out is I like to go with pole holders initially, because I like to paddle and troll, because a lot of the fishing I used to do on boats was trolling, so I thought, well, let's start with that. But with just the one on there, I didn't like that, so obviously I went on Amazon, and the brand I used is Yak Attack. They've pretty much got the market for all your kayak accessories and stuff, so if you just go to Amazon, type in Yak Attack, it'll come up with hundreds of all kinds of cool gadgets and gizmos and Husker do's and Husker don'ts and all that stuff. You can kind of get off in the weeds in it. So, but anyway, something that I had to learn on my own was that when you screw these in to the hull, or to the kayak, obviously it's all open, I just screwed them in and didn't think about waterproofing the screws. So by the time the water, you know, splashes on, or it's in the rain a little bit, the water seeps through those. So if you do these type of attachments, or you screw anything into your kayak, you can get the little O-rings that go underneath the screw, and then you can silicone them as well, or you can do rivets, which is pretty popular. It all depends on how much you want to get into it, but I had to learn the hard way. And I mean, it didn't sink my kayak by any means, but it did towards the end of the day. If I'm really splashing around a lot, when I go to load my kayak up, you can hear a little bit of water moving in when you're loading it up. But speaking of, if you do get water in these, they all have a drain. This model, the drain is right here on the front, so you just tip it upside down and drain the water out right there by that carry T handle. The other thing too is, if you do get a bunch of water on, there are holes here. See these holes here? There's 2 under the seat, and then 2 in the back here, and those go all the way through to the water, and that is on purpose. Those are called scuppers, which I didn't know anything about, but basically it's for when water gets on board, they're self-draining, and it just drains out the bottom instead of staying in your cockpit there, or on your deck, and sloshing around and sinking. So that's what those are for. Now if you don't want those with the water, sometimes it kind of splashes up, but if you want those closed up, they make scupper plugs, which look like this. They're, you know, all kinds of, again, different models, whatever you like, and they just go right in just like that, and then you can pull them out. So there's your scupper plugs for your scupper holes. All right, and then most of them have some kind of bungee deal on the front, which is good if you want to put gear up there. But I learned real quick, the hard way, that when you're sitting there and you're fishing and you put your rod down on your lap, the front of your rod obviously is up front here, and quite a bit the lure gets caught in the bungee cords or even on the rope here. And when you're sitting down in that one, you can't really reach all the way up here. So and if you get your lure stuck or whatever else, or if you need something from up here, you can't stand up in this kayak. It's not like an adult can't. Maybe a kid could, but I'm 6'2", and there's no way I could stand up in this kayak. It's really stable though, which is pretty awesome for what it is, but you can't stand up on it. So anything you got to do up here for gear or get your lures unstuck, you got to paddle over to shore, and it's a pain in the butt. So I always leave this pretty open. That was another thing, kind of trial by fire. I had to learn on my own. So I think we're good there. So now we'll start getting into other fun stuff. So we'll go over pole holders real quick. So I started out with a cheaper brand on Amazon. I think it was called Rail Blaza. They were like 20 bucks or whatever, but they turned out to be kind of chintzy, and they when you would adjust them, the angle, you had to take them completely out, and twice now on the water fighting around with that, they went overboard and I lost them. So I went with Yak Attack brand, of course. They're like 45 or 50 bucks, I think, for each one of these. The other thing I learned real quick is to get this extension piece right here. Hope you guys can see that. Hope it's in the frame. So what this extension piece does is obviously moves your pole holder out a little further. So when you're sitting in the kayak and you're trolling, or have it, you know, your rod out there, if you didn't have this extension piece, this rod holder would be a lot closer, and the end of your rod is right up against your legs, and it gets in the way. It's kind of a pain. So I always get the extensions. And they all come with this. Basically, you unscrew that. That's the base plate. And pretty much all your kayak accessories are like this for the rails. They just have that that piece there, and it just slides in the gear track, and adjustable, and then you can put them wherever you want. And Yak Attack has a little clip there that locks in to each groove to really secure it, so it's not as flimsy. So when a fish bites, it doesn't really shake your whole rod holder and stuff. And the other ones didn't have those little clips, so Yak Attack's just much better quality. The other thing I like about these two is you just put it on. It's got the teeth in there, just put it on, and then there's the clasp. You just shut that, put it on, shut the clasp, and you're good to go. So if you want to adjust the angle of it, you just pull the clip back a little bit, lift it up, and you can adjust it, and just like that. So you can lift it up and adjust it without it coming out. See, it won't come out now. And then you can lock it into place, then it stays. So that's what I like, is you're never gonna have it fall overboard like I did with those other ones. So that's why I like the Yak Attack brand. Also, if you need to secure your rod in, you can lock it, just twist it. The other ones just had a little rubber strap and it always fell off. I lost it within a day or two. So yeah, I like the Yak Attack. They're pretty good. Basically, just like anything else, you get what you pay for. So there's that. So we got that covered. Now we'll go on to what a lot of people do kayak fishing, is they have a crate, like a milk crate, to hold all their gear and extra rods and everything, and it's usually behind the seat. So I went on YouTube. There's a ton of YouTube videos about it, so I watched those, and here's my crate. So I took this is a full crate on the bottom here, and then I cut the bottom off of a second milk crate to make this tray on top. And then obviously you run your bungees in here so you can put stuff in, quick access that doesn't fall out. I just got a few extra baits there, but you don't have to get crazy with it. I just have a first aid kit, some extra rope, bug spray, my fish scale, some snacks, lip grippers, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty simple. And then I just did a bungee with a little clip here. That way, if you do tip over, the lid won't open up and you lose all your stuff. So on to the inside, I have a bag here for all my soft plastics. It works out pretty good. So I would recommend, if you're bass fishing and you have a bunch of soft plastics and stuff, get a bag to keep them all organized. Otherwise you're gonna have bags all over the place, and obviously you don't have that much room on a kayak. So that was another learning curve. Being on a boat, you got a lot more room. But anyway, so on the inside I just keep some fishing tackle boxes, some water, sunflower seeds, whatever else I need. Real quick, this is the 7500 series, the size, and it does not fit. It can diagonally, of course, but then you can't really have much in there. So just a heads up. I think this is the 6500 or 5500, I can't remember, but that fits pretty good, as you can see. So that's pretty much the inside of my crate. And then on the sides, I bought these 3 rod holders from Amazon. I started out with just 3 because, being new, you know, obviously I'm a slow learner and taking things easy, but I just got these zip tied in the holes there to each side of the crate. So I upgraded to 6 rods because I got pretty comfortable with kayaking instead of tying on baits all the time. That's kind of a pain on the, you know, on a small 10-foot kayak. So you know, this will fit 6 rods, so I can just reach back and grab whatever rods I need to switch bait, and that works out pretty good. So, but again, it's all personal preference, kind of whatever you guys want to do. So now I'll show you how it sits on here. So I just set her on the back there, and I drilled some clips on there, and you take your bungee and just attach it like that. Hope you guys can see that on the front, and do that one more time on the back here. Same thing, get that attached. Oops. There and there. So that way, if you do tip over, obviously your stuff stays, and you can keep your kayak, or keep your crate and keep all your equipment. So that's how your crate goes on there. Pretty simple. Obviously Yak Attack sells a pretty awesome crate system and everything, but it's, go figure, a lot more money, but that's kind of down and dirty basic, cheap, quick and easy. That's something you can do at home. So got the crate figured out, and then as you can see, I'll grab a couple of my poles here. They just kind of sit in there like that. Biggest thing I can tell you is if you do have this system and you're reaching back to grab rods, be very careful, because speaking from personal experience, one time I had the reels turned and I went and grabbed one, and it pulled the second rod out, and down in the water it went. So thankfully it was only 6 feet of water, and I was able to put on a jig and get my pole back. But just make sure when you're looking back and grabbing it in a hurry, take your time and don't let that happen, you know, because that sucked. So the other thing too is some people put floats, like a little pool noodle that goes on here on the shaft. I had those, but it was kind of a pain in the butt because the line would catch, your lure would catch on it, and they're always sliding up, and you got to move them down all the time, and you can't use your little bait catch. Obviously I use the front of my bait caster to hold my lures, but so I got rid of those pretty quick. I mean, good idea in theory, but if you're using it all the time and you're really not dropping rods, you don't need it. So, but again, personal preference, all whatever you want to do. So that's kind of what the crate looks like all set up. Obviously if you have more poles in there. The next thing is paddles. So these Lifetime kayaks, they'll come with this paddle, and they all clip in the same way. Push that button in, off you go. So they did not come with these little rubber deals. I bought those and put those on, which I found out later, what I'll talk about now. So I mean, they're plastic, they're really flimsy, as you can see, so you lose a little energy and speed because they give, but that's all right. The other thing I found out real quick was when you're paddling, the water runs off the paddle and runs down to your hands, on your arms, on your lap, and I was constantly getting soaked every time I had to paddle, which wasn't too bad. I mean, obviously you're sitting on the water on a kayak, you're going to get wet, but it gets kind of frustrating after a while. So after watching some YouTube videos, I found these little rubber O-ring deals to put on there, and so in theory the water runs down the paddle and then hits these and runs off. These work pretty good, but it's not a catch-all. You still get water in them, so, or get water on you. So eventually I upgraded to a lighter, stronger, and actual angler paddle, and this one I think is Pelican. Yeah, so it's the Pelican Angler, and same thing, I bought the rubber gasket deals there, but this one has this little notch right here. So I wasn't sure what that was until I started using it, and I realized the water runs off and just drops off there and doesn't go onto your paddle, which is pretty cool. And then I still have that, so this does 10 times better keeping the water off your hands and off your lap than that original Lifetime one. And obviously it's pretty strong too, it doesn't really bend much, so it's lighter, stronger, all the good upgrades. It does have this little catch in there. So what that is for fishing. If you get your lure snagged on the bottom in your fairly shallow water, you just run your line through that and run your paddle down and just pop your lure off whatever's stuck. I have used that and it works out pretty good. The other way to not have that happen is don't get your lure stuck. But anyway, also this one came with the measurements on here, standard, which is pretty cool. So I'm pretty pumped about that. When I first started, I did put a carabiner tether on here and attach that carabiner to the to my vest or to the kayak in case I dropped my paddle and it floated off. In theory, pretty good idea, but you don't really need it. Usually you just leave your paddle across your lap and then you're fishing. Your paddle pretty much stays across your lap the whole time. Paddles float, and unless you're in really fast current like a river or something, You know, which I'm not. I'm always in reservoirs and stuff with calm water, so I took that off because I kept getting the tether rope caught, you know, on my lap and on my fishing gear and all that kind of stuff, so I don't use a tether anymore. So the other thing too is depending on your state, whatever the regulations are. I live in Wyoming, and if you don't have a motor, which obviously I don't, I'm just paddling, you don't have to wear your life jacket, but you do have to have it with you. Even though I was a lifeguard for 7 years, lifeguard instructor, pretty strong swimmer, all that, I still always wear a life jacket no matter what. So you just never know. So I'll go over that real quick. And there's kind of basically two types. So this one I bought is pretty low profile, and it's not bulky at all, and it can fit over, you know, clothes for cold weather gear, and it's not super hot in the summer. Obviously not much to it, but it's kind of a one-time deal. So if you need to, you fall in the water, you pull that cord, and the CO2 charges up the, you know, real instantly, expands the life jacket. But kind of a one-time deal, like I said, unless you have the CO2 recharges with you on your boat, which I don't carry those. So I don't use this very often. I just kind of leave it at home, but it's a good idea. This is the one that I use all the time because I've got, now that I'm filming and stuff, I got GoPro batteries, I've got bug spray, sunscreen, snacks, and a couple other attachments. The body of water I fish in has tiger muskie, so I got that little deal to make sure I keep my fingers on my hand. You know how that goes. I've also got some nail clippers for switching out lines and baits and all that kind of deal, attached on with tethers, and that gets kind of busy. So again, same thing, just make it your own. The one thing I will say, which is super important, is to have a cell phone tether. This was 20 bucks, and that was probably the best 20 bucks ever. So obviously it just clips onto your cell phone there around it, and because I learned real quick, everything's going on in your lap, and there's not much room to move around, and you end up dropping a bunch of stuff all the time. So that cell phone tether is a lifesaver. The other thing too is make sure that your life jackets are Coast Guard compliant, because if they're not, they don't count as a life jacket, and Game and Fish or DNR, depending on where you live, might jam you up for that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So the other thing too, speaking of Game and Fish and everything, check your state regulations. In Wyoming, we have to have an invasive species sticker on our kayaks. That's what this is there. You know, we have zebra mussels nearby, and we don't want to keep transmitting those everywhere, and they kind of destroy things. So just make sure you're aware of your state regulations and all that kind of stuff. So all right, we got just about everything covered. I guess now what we'll do is go over some quick accessories. Again, this is just real basic to get you started on accessories. You can go nuts however you want, you know, on Amazon and Yak Attack and all that kind of stuff, but just some real quick ones that I did. So I found out it's nice to have an anchor. So again, Amazon, like 20 bucks, I think. Got this guy. It's a 3.5 pound anchor, and it works pretty good. So problem is that the more accessories you have, the more space it takes up on your kayak. So this is kind of a pain, but I always put it behind my seat right there. And then what I did was I just took this end with the float, the opposite end, and clipped it on there with a carabiner, and then have my rope in there. So anytime I needed my anchor, just reach back, toss it in. And another accessory that I bought was, once you toss your anchor out, you have to, you know, kind of secure it to your kayak somehow. So they make these little deals, and that's just your I don't know what it's called, I can't remember, but the holds your rope secure. So you just kind of do the S pattern through, and it locks in your anchor when it's in the water and holds you there. One super important thing though, to learn about this and to be aware of, is if you're in any type of fast water or the wind's blowing pretty bad and you toss your anchor out, just be aware that when it actually catches and stops, it'll rock you to that side. And I've seen plenty of videos of guys that it kind of tips your kayak and it'll roll you over and dump you and all your stuff if you're in fast water and drop your anchor and it catches right away. So just make sure that whenever you're dropping your anchor, you're safe before you toss it in there. So yeah, safety first. Also, this one did come with these. These are pole holders. They kind of come out at an angle, so that's kind of handy too. They just, so it sits like that. So that's kind of cool. all kinds of stuff. The anchor, like I said, that's a pretty good accessory to have. The other one is to have a good set of pliers or scissors or something. So what I did is I bought these cheap $9, these are medical scissors, but they have a little sharp point in there, and that's good for opening up the eyelets of the jigs, as you all know, being fishermen, the paint that gets over it, so you can do that. And then it's got the really good spot there for cutting, and then obviously the plier end for getting the hooks out of mouths and stuff for the fish. So kind of a jack of all trades, real quick, easy, cheap tool. So what I did is I just drilled in this eyelet here, and I got these little bungee attachments. These things, again, lifesaver. So you can attach it there, or like this one, I think I just attached it up here, and then just kind of let it sit there just like that. But again, I've dropped pliers over into the water, lost them, so eventually, I don't know, it took me 2 or 3 pairs before I realized, hey dummy, get some kind of tether. So and again, just if you tether everything down, then you got tethers all over the place. So it all depends on what you're comfortable with and what you're willing to lose if it does happen. And the other thing's a net. Got to have yourself a good net, and I did the same thing on the bottom there. So I'm left-handed, so I usually am steering the fish, trying to get him over to the right side of the kayak with my left hand, and then my right hand I use the net. And that's what I actually drilled this eyelet for, was that clips on there, and then I leave this pole holder open because I put my net in there. So that works out pretty good because it stays really good. It really isn't in the way much. I can still open my crate and get stuff that way, and the net's never in the way, and it's just quick and easy to use it. It stretches pretty far if you need to, and depending on how chaotic the situation is with the fish, you can just drop the net in the water. And I think this one floats too, but still you're tethered on, so it's not gonna get lost. So that's a pretty handy deal. I would definitely recommend that. The other one is a cup holder. Yak Attack makes these nice cup holders with the same gear track attachment. So you can use this cup holder like some of them come with them, but obviously it's not very secure. And I put one in here for my fish finder originally, or whatever else, but I ended up using it as a cup holder. So you just slide that in like that, tighten her down, and there you go. Now you got a spot for your Mountain Dew. It's now secure, won't spill, turns your Mountain Don't into a Mountain Dew. Hey-o! Anyway, moving past that terrible dad joke, they make some more accessories. So I kind of thought about doing this, so I bought it and never ended up using it. So what you can do is you open up your hatch, you take that out, you can bolt this in, and when you open it up, it's the same thing. It's got a bag in there, and that way your stuff doesn't slide all around the hole and everything. But I found out pretty quick, I really don't use this. I don't use this too much, and I didn't need a second one, so it's kind of a waste. But just so you guys are aware, that is an option. So maybe in the back one, but since I upgraded my kayak, I don't really use this one too much, except for retrieving ducks and stuff. So don't really need it, but that is an option. They make them in all shapes and sizes and stuff, so that is something available. The other thing too, depending on your state regulations, in Wyoming, you don't have to have a safety flag if there's no motor on your kayak, if it's just paddle. However, I did put a flag on my kayak and my new one. You know, obviously there's the standard orange or red flag for safety. We don't have to have it, but like I said, I do. Well, I did the pirate flag because pirates are cool, and you know, people on the water, they see it. And I've gotten a lot of comments, and people come up and talk to me and laugh about my pirate flag, so clearly they are seeing it instead of just a regular orange flag. So so same thing, I bought this attachment for it. It came with it. You just put it in, tighten her down, and then there's your flag. Obviously it didn't work too good with the crate, which is why I just switched it over to my other kayak, but at least I've got a flag on there, or an option, so there's that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. so that's kind of a real quick, down and dirty, basic kayak fishing setup. We'll see later on if this video does good. I'll do another video getting more in depth on my newer kayak. The one thing I will say, like I talked about earlier, is if you are starting out and you're getting one of these 10-foot lifetime sit on top fishing kayaks, I would recommend getting the one that has the actual chair that comes with it and the gear tracks for the feet, so you don't have these and you've got that actual seat. I think they're probably the same price, if not maybe 50 bucks more or something. I'll show you my newer kayak. This is my new and current kayak. It's the Lifetime Yukon, so it's 11 feet 6 inches, and you can actually stand up in this one. But it does, that smaller one I was telling you about comes with this chair, their Lifetime chair, and here's the gear tracks for your feet. So you just take that piece and you can move it up and down, but it locks in, so it works out pretty good. I like that so much better. So yeah, that chair I can fish all day comfortably without a pad or a seat pad or anything like that. Same thing, I'm pretty comfortable with the foot pegs. You can adjust them for comfort. So anyway, yeah, hope that helped for the guys that are starting out like I did. We'll catch you guys on the next one.